Good afternoon. Today's Shir Leil Nishmas Tzvi Dov Ben Chaim Pesach, and also Refuah Shalema for David Yoel Zev Ben Shoshana. Refuah Shalema. Today we'll be speaking about the Haftorah of Korach. It's in the Birnbaum books and also in the Art Scroll. I don't know what page. Yehuda, you know what page? The Haftorah of Korach, how it ties into the Parsha, and of course how it ties into what? The current events, right? Haftorah's Korach.
Korach in Art Scroll is 1186.
1186 Art Scroll. And then Birnbaum. 1186. 1186 in Art Scroll. Birnbaum. Haftorah's Korach.
Here it is 405.
405 in the Birnbaum. 405. The Haftorah speaks about the mutiny on, not mutiny on the Bounty, mutiny in the Sinai desert. You mind telling the lady, make it a little bit cooler, the lady at the front desk? No, you're cold? Okay, she's cold?
It's perfect.
What, perfect?
Last week I was...
Okay. The Parsha speaks about mutiny in the Sinai desert, right? By Korach. The Haftorah speaks about a great-grandson of Korach, Shmuel Hanavi, a great-grandson of Korach, who will be metaken the chet of his grandpa. Korach accused Moshe of appointing himself and his brother leaders. Shmuel Hanavi will be the tikkun, we'll see. Vayomer Shmuel Eloham, Shmuel said to the people, come and let us renew the kingship. Minish Chadesh. What do you mean renew the kingship? There was no king, Sharona.
That's right.
Let me renew the kingship. First pasuk, you see that? Samuel 11, pasuk 14. Come and renew the kingship. There's nothing to renew because there was no king yet. Shmuel Hanavi was the last of the judges, the greatest and the last of the judges, and he anointed the first king of Israel. So there was no kingship. Chanoch. What do you mean renew the kingship? What does that mean? So my interpretation is the tafkid of a Jewish king is that we should all rejuvenate ourselves. Rejuvenate. The Chadesh. The tafkid, the purpose of a king is not to lord it over the people. The purpose of the king is in the Chadesh, to rejuvenate ourselves, to do Judaism with a bren. How do you say that? Not to go through the motions. The king is supposed to inspire the people to rejuvenate. The Chadesh. That's the job of a king. Okay? So, verse 15 says, the people went and they crowned Shaul. Why is the first king of Israel called Shaul? What does Shaul mean?
Question.
To ask. Because later on in the Haftorah, Shmuel tells them, you committed a sin, lishol lechem melech. You requested a king, lishol. What does lishol mean? To ask, to request. And therefore the first king of Israel is called Shaul, because that's God's response to their request. They lishol lechem melech, lishol lanu melech. You guys asked and requested a king. I'm giving in to your demand. So Avi, the first king of Israel, is called Shaul, which means the requested one, or the asked one.
But wasn't his name Saul before?
Yeah, but Masha, you know that a person's tafkid in life is contained in his mission. And the Orach Chaim HaKodesh says, when a baby is born, the name that the parents give is subconscious Ruach HaKodesh. You know, Masha didn't know that. And therefore, throughout Tanakh, who names the women? Who names their babies? The women. Because women have a bina yetera, says the Orach Chaim HaKodesh. They're more in touch with their soul. When they look at the baby, they're more qualified. Throughout Tanakh, women name. Because your tafkid in life is contained in your name. You can choose to ignore it because you have free will. So they named him Shaul, Kani, because he will be asked as a response to people's request for a king. His destiny was to be a king. He could have refused it, but he chose to live up to his name, Shaul, the requested one. Now it's very strange that the word Shaul in Hebrew means hell. Lillian, it's not a joke. In this week's Parsha, Moshe tells them, Korach and the gang, they're going to Shaul. Shaul, now Gehenna is a Talmudic phrase, but in Tanakh, hell is called Shaul. It's strange that the first king of Israel has the same root name as hell. Isn't that bizarre? Shaul, Lishaol, maybe it's not so bizarre. Shaol means a request to ask. What is hell? Hell is not a physical place. When a person dies, his body dies, but his mind, which is his soul, his consciousness continues to live. And then he faces the ultimate reality, the big boss. And God will ask him, Ayeka. When God asked Adam, Ayeka, if he's only speaking to Adam, it wouldn't be in the Tanakh, because Tanakh is God's GPS. God will ask everyone, Ayeka, where are you? What did you do with your life? Shaol, what are we going to say? That's the worst hell. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. You have no bodysuit. There's no filter. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to hide. It's you, not your bodysuit. Your mind, your consciousness, your soul, in front of the ultimate reality, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And God will say, Ayeka, because all of us are part of Adam and Chava. We all have their DNA, divine natural ability, or divine natural association. So Evelyn, Ayeka, that's the hell. What are we going to say?
What is Korach?
We're not there yet. Chaya gave an amazing explanation. The word Korach is related to the word Kerach. Chaya may give. We're not there yet. But first I want to explain Shaol. So when God asks us, where are you? Ask. That shame, that anguish, that's hell. It's not a physical place. It's a state of being. What are we going to say? Where are you? Ask. How did you mess up your life? I gave you life, health, wealth, talents, assets. How did you use it? Aren't you ashamed of yourself? That's the hell. Shaol, to ask. Now the Zohar says, of course, before the trial begins, God will ask us our name. Ruvain, because the heavenly court follows what? The human court. The human court is, what's the first question a judge asks? State your name. Who are you? So if that's in a human court, it's certainly what? In a heavenly court.
But why am I guilty if my mother named me that?
1 minute. Because you're a tafkid. When God says, what is your name? What's he really asking? Did you live up to your mission, which is contained in your name? Therefore, it's very important to go by a Hebrew name, says Orach Chaim and Nachmanides, because the name is not Tom, Dick, or Harry. It's your tafkid contained in your name, which Orach Chaim says subconscious Ruach HaKodesh, when the parents, especially the mother, names the child. Okay? So, when God will ask us what your name is, what's God really asking? Did you fulfill your mission? So the Shloah HaKadosh says something incredible. The great Kabbalah Shloah HaKadosh. We say a pasuk in the end of Shmon Esrei that has the initials of our name, a pasuk in Tanakh. Why do you do that?
So you remember it.
So you'll remember your name on the day that you die. If you don't remember your name, how do you remember that pasuk?
Look through all the old.
You know, right? Look in the art scroll book. They have the name, whatever your name is, you look it up, a pasuk in Tanakh with your initials, and that will help you remember your name on the day that you die. So push it, because you're scared, right? The day you die, you're all discombobulated. What's it called? Disoriented. Where am I? Where's my bodysuit?
Alzheimer's patient.
Oh, a bodysuit.
Memory back.
1 minute, 1 minute. So you say this pasuk, you'll remember the name on the day that you die. Shloah HaKodesh. So what does that mean? You'll forget your name. And God doesn't know my name. So when God asks my name, he's really asking, did you fulfill your mission contained in your name? So, what are you going to say? You're asking me, God, who I am. Ayeko. I am a pasuk in your Tanakh. You hear that? My pasuk Nehemiah chapter 9. God, you're asking me who I am. You're asking my name. You're really asking me, did you live up to your mission in your name? I say, God, I don't know. But you want to know who I am? I'm a pasuk in your Tanakh. I'm not a doctor, a candlestick maker, a plumber, a brain surgeon. I am a pasuk in your holy Tanakh. Now, when God hears that, Connie, I hope he'll say next. Yes, Your Honor.
Rabbi.
I'm a pasuk in your Tanakh. That's who I am.
That's a good answer.
That's a great answer.
But doesn't God take you when you fulfilled your mission?
Maybe that's my mission. I don't know if I did my mission or not. Who can say I did? But you're asking me who I am. I'm a verse in your Torah. I'm part of your Torah, God. That's me. That's my essence. So anyway, Shaul, that's a hell. Shaul, right? When a person doesn't know what to answer, right? How he made a mess of the talents and life and gifts that God gave him. That's the worst hell. But anyway, let's move on here. Who asked the question about Korach? Evelyn, right? We're going to get there because we have time. We'll get there. But first, let's finish the Tanakh over here. So, what does Moshe tell them in Tanakh over here? So, not Moshe. Korach accused Moshe and Aaron of stealing, appointing themselves leaders. So remember we said that a grandson of Korach, Shmuel, that's the tikkun. Look at verse 6. Verse 6, Shmuel said to the people, it is Hashem who appointed Moshe and Aaron. Grandpa, you're wrong. They didn't appoint themselves. That's the kesher to the Parsha. Verse 6, Shmuel said to the people, it is Hashem who appointed Moshe and Aaron. And in case you don't get the message, look at verse 8. Verse 8. Kashabor Yaakov Mitzrayim Yizaku Vayishlach Hashem et Moshe ve'Aaron. God sent Moshe and Aaron, not like grandfather Korach says they stole it, they usurped it. Grandson Korach, grandson of Korach, Shmuel, keeps repeating that what? That it is HaKadosh Baruch Hu that appointed Moshe and Aaron. That his grandfather was wrong, dead wrong. Savi, the tikkun, grandson Shmuel, right?
So this proves the sons did tshuva because great-grandson...
Well, it's a pasuk in Parshas Pinchas, B'nei Korach lo metu. They did tshuva at the last minute, right? Papa didn't, but the children did. Otherwise, Shmuel can never be born. How could Korach make such a terrible mistake? Korach was a Navi. He saw b'nevuah that he's going to have a grandson, Shmuel, who equals in righteousness to what? Moses and Aaron together. And he saw b'nevuah that Moshe Rabbeinu's grandson is going to be a deformed rabbi. Look at the book of Shoftim. Yonatan ben Gershon ben Moshe became a Navi Sheket to Avodah Zarah. So Korach b'nevuah, he was a Navi. He freaked out, Connie. My grandson Samuel's going to be as great as Moses and Aaron put together. His grandson's going to be what? A Navi Sheket to Avodah Zarah. Who should be giving orders here? Olam Hafuch. So God said, listen, I know that, but I chose Moses. So what? But that drove Korach crazy. He was jealousy, and more than that, his grandson is going to be as great as Moses and Aaron put together. And Moses' grandson is going to be a Navi Sheket Avodah Zarah. He just couldn't swallow it. The envy destroyed him. So now comes Shmuel, and he does the tikkun for the Saba Rabbah. And he keeps saying, Hashem appointed Moshe and Aaron. Hashem, Hashem. Now, you look at the end of the Haftorah, verse 17. Verse 17 says that what? That you did a great evil in the eyes of Hashem, lishor lachem melech. You did a great evil in the eyes of God, lishor lachem melech, to ask for a king. Therefore, the first king of Israel is called Shaul, because they asked. Why is it a great evil? It's a mitzvah to appoint a king. The same Torah Kani that says put on tefillin every morning and shake a lulav on when? Sukkos. And sit in the sukkah when? Sukkos. And eat matzah when? The same Torah says soim tosam alecha melech. Parshas Shoftim, it's one of the Tayag mitzvot to appoint a king. So why is it a great evil to ask for a king? What kind of great evil? To request a king. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. To answer this question, the Chama are going to what?
Ask another one.
Because a Jew answers a question with what? With another question. Okay? At the burning bush, God, a whole week, was trying to persuade Moshe Rabbeinu to become the Redeemer and the lawgiver. God said, I'll make you an offer that you can't refuse. Redeemer and lawgiver, Masha, a twofer. And for a whole week, Moses says, Ich fuhr nicht. How do you say that in Yiddish? Ich fuhr nicht. I'm not taking the job. God gave him an offer that he couldn't refuse. Redeemer and lawgiver for a whole week. Rashi points out the conversation there. Moses says, I refuse. Why? So Rashi explains, because he thought that his older brother, Aaron, would resent him, would begrudge him, would be jealous. What am I, chopped liver? I'm the older brother. What are you passing me by? And all the years that Moshe was on the lam, who was the leader of the Jewish people? In Aaron, in the slime pits in Cairo, Moses was somewhere in Ethiopia, in Midian. Who was the leader of the Jewish people in the slime pits? Aaron. Now all of a sudden he comes back after how many years? 40 years, step aside, I'm taking over. He was afraid his brother would resent him, be jealous, and because he felt that his brother would have anguish and resentment, he refused God's pleas for a whole week until God said, V'samach belibo. What that means? You know Hebrew, right? God said, V'samach belibo. He's happy for you in his heart. God looks in the heart. He doesn't resent you. He's not jealous. He's not envious. You're mistaken. Only when God reassured him, V'samach belibo, only then did he said, where do I sign? Lawgiver and Redeemer. He's willing to give up to be the Redeemer of Klal Yisrael, the lawgiver, because if that would upset his older brother, only when God reassured him, only then did he accept. What a powerful message. It's a mitzvah to appoint a king. But if my mitzvah is going to cause anguish to another Yid, Meichel Toivis. How do you say that in Yiddish? Meichel Toivis.
I don't need your favors.
Right, Shoshan, listen. Shmuel HaNavi was very much alive. He gave his entire life for Am Yisrael. What am I, a shmata? What am I, a dish rag? A doormat? Throw me out? He was very much alive. He felt terrible anguish and resentment that they rejected him. God felt his pain. So God said, mitzvah shmitzvah. If your mitzvah is going to cause pain and anguish to a fellow Jew, I don't want your mitzvah. They should have waited, Lillian, until what? Shmuel dies, and then do the mitzvah Soim Tosum Alecha. But if my mitzvah is going to cause pain and anguish to another Jew, God says, I don't need your mitzvah. You say Yiddish, Moichel Toivis. Who knows Yiddish here?
I know you.
Moichel Toivis.
One of your favorites.
Isn't that incredible, Chaya? What a message. Judaism, in one word, sensitivity to a fellow Yid. Sensitivity to a fellow Yid. So Moses was ready to chuck it all. Moses, chuck it all. If my leadership and my Redeemer and lawgiver will hurt my brother, I don't want it. You want a king? You're hurting Shmuel. What am I? You putting me out to pasture? God felt his pain, and therefore he calls it a great evil. Lishol lechem melech. What a powerful message in Judaism. Right? Make sure my mitzvah is not on Yenim's places. Yenim's places? Verstehe ich Yiddish ein bisschen? Yenim's.
Plan A was Moses, but Moses turned himself down.
Well, there always has to be a plan B.
Plan A would have been Korach. God would have chosen.
What? Would have chosen Korach? I don't know about that.
I got the same year.
What? Got this? They were cousins, but they were not kissing cousins. That's for sure.
There's a new book by Rabbi Hartley who says that God is number 2, but this proves that God is really number 1.
They were not kissing cousins. Now you get to Evelyn's question, which was answered by Chaya. Korach is the same word as Kerach. Ice. Kerach. Ice. Frozen.
Wow.
Please hear me well. Moshe Rabbeinu, there's 12 tribes, each with their own flag, their own sign, their own nusach. Moshe was all about the beautiful mosaic. Why is it called mosaic? What does mosaic mean, Nechama? What does mosaic mean? But why is it called mosaic, not Korachit? Why is it called mosaic?
That's the root of the word.
Why? The beautiful tapestry, the diversity. That's mosaic. Right? Unity, but not uniformity. Korach said, I don't want no mosaic. I want everything a frozen clone of ice. No diversity, no mosaic. We all have to be one frozen block of ice, Chaya said. That's not Judaism. Judaism believes in a mosaic, kawinky dinky. Why it's called mosaic? It's incredible. Chanoch. The beautiful tapestry of 12 tribes, not all chiefs. They got to be Indians too. Korach said we can all be chiefs. One frozen block of ice. No, there has to be a mosaic unity, not uniformity. Unity, but not uniformity. Korach said, forget about it. We have to freeze it all. Everyone has to be a clone, a frozen, frigid clone. That's the wrong religion.
If we're all Kohanim, we're supposed to be a
That's not the way Hashem wants. 12 different tribes, different strokes for different folks. They got everything from us, Ruvain. But Korach said, no. I want to freeze everyone. One frozen clone of ice. I don't want the mosaic diversity. Mosaic. That's not Judaism. That's Judaism, mosaic. Get it? Moses, mosaic. It's incredible. Mosaic unity, not uniformity. We're not all clones. We're not all penguins. Speaking of frozen, Connie, reminds me of a story. Now, all my stories are true, but some did not happen yet. Evelyn, speaking about frozen, this guy had a parrot that kept cursing all the time. A foul-mouthed parrot. Yiddish Yehuda. He couldn't stop cursing. As a punishment, the owner put him in the freezer. Speaking about frozen ice, the owner put him in the freezer as a punishment for 3 hours. The 3 hours, he opens up the freezer and the parrot is frozen. Says, you promise not to curse? So the parrot says, oh, okay, I promise not to curse. But tell me, what did the chicken do? Come on, I thought that's pretty cute. No? Put him in the freezer. Come on. Tell me you don't think it's funny?
Now I do. What did the chicken do?
What did the chicken do?
He's dead.
Don't you? Why'd you stick him in the oh, I have to explain it. I'll pass. It's pretty funny, right? It's a delayed reaction. Okay. It's not funny. What did the chicken do? Stuck him in the freezer. He put him there. He cursed. But what did the chicken do? Why did you stick him in the freezer? Don't you get it? He's also a bird. He's a bird brain. What do you want? Now, speaking about parrots, a guy walks into a parrot. One more, that's it. A guy walks into a parrot shop. This is thanks to Yaakov Goldman. Guy walks into a parrot shop. He wants to buy a parrot, right? So he points to a parrot. Says, how much is this parrot? This parrot is $2,000. $2,000? I can't afford that. Why is it $2,000? He says, this parrot knows Chumash by heart. Say the whole Chumash by heart. Too rich for my blood. Points to the next parrot. How much is that parrot? That's $4,000. $4,000? This parrot knows all Mishnah by heart. Mishnah by heart. Too rich for my blood. I can't spend so much. I want a parrot. So he points to a parrot there, missing one eye and one leg. A crippled parrot, Nebuch. So he figures, how much is that parrot? I'm a limited budget. He said, that parrot is $10,000. $10,000? What can he do? So the owner of the store says, I don't know what he can do, but the other two parrots call him Rabbi.
That's good.
I'll quit now. Okay. Where were we? Korach. Now, Korach. Current events in the Parsha. We need to speak of current events. There's an amazing Gemara in Sotah. The Gemara says something incredible. Moshe rebukes Korach and the Levites with the words Rav Lachem. It's too much for you. He rebukes them harshly. Rav Lachem, Levites, you want too much Kedusha. So 39 years later, when Moshe begs God to come to Pisgat Zev, God says, Rav Lacha, too much Kedusha for you. Be happy in the desert. Evelyn, Sota, page 13. Mida keneged Mida. I always thought that Moses couldn't come to Pisgat Zev because he struck the rock. But the Gemara in Sota, page 13 tells me when God punishes even Moses, it's never just for one reason. You ever eat a combination sandwich? Buddy, combo sandwich, turkey, pastrami, salami, and corned beef. Combo. I used to eat at Smoker Bernstein's. God never punishes anybody for one reason. One reason was he hit the rock, but that wouldn't be enough to shut him out from Pisgat Zev. He rebuked Korach and the Levites too harshly. Rav Lachem. He dismissed their ambition and aspiration. So 39 years later, God says, Rav Lacha, Moses, too much for you. You don't need Pisgat Zev. What a powerful message. Tractate Sota, page 13. Be careful not to mock anyone's ambition or aspiration. Be sensitive, even if they're wrong, and you rebuke them. Be sensitive how you rebuke them. Korach was wrong, the Levites were wrong, but Moshe rebuked them not in a sensitive way, too harshly. Connie. So it's called boomerang. Boomerang. So Mida keneged Mida, God said to him, Ravloch, too much, you don't need Kiryat Moshe. Rechavia. What's the message? Women of the wall, they're doing wrong, but how do you speak to them? How dare you insult them and yell at them? You're worse than what they're doing. Pasha of the week, Kawinky Dinky, women on the wall. right? No, you're not a Seder off the wall. No. You have to rebuke them in a gentle, sensitive way. Otherwise, don't say anything, because then you become worse than they are. What a message, Chaya, that the Parsha of the week always speaks to what? Current events. Korach, the Levites were wrong. But Moshe was punished, Kani, because he was not sensitive in the rebuking them. What a message. So they're doing wrong, the women on the wall. But how dare you insult them and yell at them? You're doing much worse than they are. Shoshana, what a message, how it's a Parsha of the week always seems to what? To speak to current events. It never fails. Now, one of the leaders of the revolt was On ben Pelet. On ben Pelet. All of a sudden, he drops off the radar. He disappears. What happens to him? His wife saves him. His wife, she put him to bed, right? And she sat outside of the tent. When Korach and the mutineers came, she took off her sheitel. She took off her sheitel. They saw a married woman without a sheitel. They ran away. The mutineers were all Haredi. It's not what you Gemara in Saita. Inchav Sanhedrin tells me that. So she saved her husband. It's a pasuk in Mishlei 14. Chochmas noshim banta beita. Wise women build up the house, but the fool tears the house down. That's Mrs. Korach. She egged him on. But On ben Pelet, Chochmas noshim banta beita, she saved her husband by her wisdom. By her wisdom. He's called On ben Pelet. That was his name. On from the word onen, and onen means a mourner, an ovel. On ben Pelet. Pelet means it's a wonder. It's a wonder that he was saved at the last moment. And on means from the word onen, which means a mourner. So Talmud explains he could not stop mourning for himself. That he was part of the conspirators. He was a broken individual, sorry for himself. You don't hear from him. He couldn't stop mourning for his conduct. The Bnei Korach were also part of the conspiracy. How come they're not called On? How come they're not mourning? In fact, the Bnei Korach became the great prophet Levite. The most beautiful psalms were written by them after the rebellion. What's the difference between On and them? They were both in the conspiracy. They both did tshuva. But the Bnei Korach became the great Levite singers, and On winds up off the radar. Lily, what's the message over here? My Rebbe Rapam explains something incredible. He says, this is Yetzer Hara's trap. Everybody does wrong. But you feel so guilty, so sorry for yourself, you can't move on. I can't do tshuva. I did such a terrible sin. My life is over. I have to hit the bottle or stay in the pool room. He couldn't stop mourning for himself. He was a broken man. That's wrong. Judaism, you make a mistake, move on. Moving on, moving on. Don't be an own. Don't feel sorry for yourself. You do tshuva, move on. Bnei Korach, they wrote the most beautiful psalms. Despite their sin or because of their sin. You grow from your mistakes. Move on, get beyond it. But if you feel so crushed and ridden with guilt, your life is over, you're a broken man, that's Satan's trap. So don't make the mistake of continue to mourn for yourself. We have to follow the example of the Bnei Korach. They did tshuva. and became the great Levite singers that we say their psalm right before you blow shofar. The holiest moment, Rosh Hashanah. Before you blow shofar, who are you quoting? Former rebels. Rebel with a cause? Rebel with a cause. You're quoting, Connie, the holiest time up right before you blow shofar, of all the psalms, you pick a psalm of rebels? Lam natseach levnei Korach mizmor. What a message. They were beautiful. Ooh, Nachama. Rosh Hashanah, day of tshuva. If those rebels can do tshuva, so can I. And they grew from their rebellion. They were not crushed and broken like On. They didn't fall for Satan's trap. Onwards and upwards. The Bnei Korach and Dafke, Nechama said, beautiful. Dafke, Rosh Hashanah, the day of Tshuva, you read their psalm. There's 149 other psalms. No, their psalm. Those rebels to rebel against Moshe Rabbeinu, if they can do Tshuva and become the great Bnei Korach, then I can do it too. I'm not going to become an own. I'm not going to fall for Satan's wiles. Wow. That's amazing. Now, so she saved his life, Mrs. Ben Pellet, the heroine. She gave him Musar. You know that Isha in Hebrew, who's good in math? Isha, wife in Hebrew, is the same gematria as Musar. Aleph Shin Hey. Aleph Shin Hey is how much? Shin is 300. 306 is the same numerical value as the word Musar. What does Musar mean? Rebuke. 1 minute. Mem is 40, Vav is 6, Samach is 60, and Reish is 200. 306. Kwinka Dinky Masha? The word wife in Hebrew has the same numerical value as rebuke. No, Masha, Aleph Shin Hey, don't mix me up. In Hebrew, Isha, not in modern Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew, Isha is Aleph Shin Hey. Don't mix me up. In the biblical Hebrew, wife is Aleph Shin Hey, which is the same numerical value as the word Musar. Kwinky Dinky? Rabbi. 1 minute. The job of a wife is to what? Give Musar. But wait a minute. But Isha, Musar is also Gematria Dvash. Honey, I'm home. I heard the great Rav Scheinberg, the one who hold the tzitzis. I had the schus to be by him. He kept calling his wife Honey Bunch. This great tzaddik. I think he wore like 39 pairs of tzitzis. He kept calling this great tzaddik. I was Honey Bunch. Evelyn. Because Isha, Gematria Musar, but it's also Gematria Dvash. The job of a wife is to give Musar to her husband. But she has to do it in a honey way. In a honey way. No kumikidinki. Wife, rebuke, and honey, I'm home, are all what? Same numerical value. The job of a wife is to rebuke.
I'll take the honey and skip the mushroom.
No. But she has to do it, Chanoch, in a honey way, otherwise it's counterproductive. Isha Gematria Musar, but Gematria Dvash. The Musar must be sugar-coated. And Moshe did not sugarcoat the rebuke to Korach. It came back to haunt him 39 years later. Gemara Sota, page 13. It's not just the rock. The rock was a contributing factor. Wow, what a message. You're going to yell at these women on the wall? Curse them?
So what should they do if they're not good?
Speak to them in a loving way. If you can't do it, don't say anything. Because then you're worse than they are. Moshe Rabbeinu suffered. Even though Korach was wrong, but the way he spoke to them was not sugar-coated. Musar, Gematria Dvash, Shoshana, Givaldik. Rebuke has to be in a honey way. Otherwise, it's worse than doing nothing. You make it much worse.
Most of them call us rebels. It was the same time.
What?
When
Very good. That's why you hit the...
And that's another reason.
Oh.
That's right.
Nechama is cooking with gas today. Rashi says the sin was that he struck the rock. But Ramban doesn't agree. Because you look at the text there, God says to Moses, take the stick and speak to the rock. So why did he take this? Why take the stick? If Rashi is right that the sin was only what? To speak, why did God say take the stick? The Ramban says, doesn't agree with Rashi. Take the stick, hit the rock, and speak to it. Otherwise, why would God say, why would he say, look, it's the text, next week's Parsha. So Ramban says that wasn't a sin, because why did God say take the stick? He was supposed to hit the rock and speak to the rock. That wasn't a sin. The sin was what Nechama said. He called the Jews rebels. You call my children rebels? Even though it's true. That's how you talk to my children, says God. No Pisgat Zev for you. I mean, no remote, right? Yeah. Remote. Yiddish Shoshana? Nachmanides disagrees with Rashi HaKodesh.
Severe punishment.
Great people, for a regular person, maybe they would have slipped in the bathtub or lost money on the stock market. But for a great person like Moshe Rabbeinu, the punishment is greater.
The expectations.
The punishment is greater. Great expectations. God expects so much from great people that when they fall away, the punishment is much greater. What's the analogy, Shoshana? A parent has 2 children, right? One child is a genius, and the other child is learning disabled. So the genius gets a 90, and the learning disabled kid gets a 60. What does the parent say to the genius? Only a 90? You're a genius, you have super IQ, 90? You should get 100 all the time. But the learning disabled kid who gets a 60, what does the parent say? I'm proud of you. You see the analogy? Perfect analogy. Moshe Rabbeinu, tzaddikim. God expects so much when they fall away. But never, a person that's, everyone according to their madrega. So it cost Moshe Rabbeinu dearly. What he wanted most was to come to Pisgat Zev, to do the greatest mitzvah of all. Lillian, it's amazing. The greatest Jew that ever lived was deprived of the greatest mitzvah. We, who can't hold a candle to Moses, are doing the greatest mitzvah of the Torah, which Moses would give his right arm to do. Now, Dr. Abramson, we should be jumping for joy to the world. We are doing the greatest mitzvah of all. Last week we showed how it's the greatest mitzvah, which the greatest Jew couldn't do. And we do it. Shouldn't that make us joy to the world? And not to take it for granted, right? To appreciate that we have the schus to live in Eretz Yisrael, which Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't zoiche. The Baal Shem Tov wasn't zoiche. The Vilna Gaon was not zoiche. Now, Masha, there has to be something. There are no kawinky dinkies in life. And we are zoiche. So what are we? Are we bigger than them? Nachmanides gives the example. He says, we are midgets, and they were giants. But if a midget stands on the shoulder of a giant, he's taller. Nachmanides says this about himself. The great Naban. He says, compared to the Kabbanim, I'm a midget. They're giants, but I'm standing on the shoulder of a giant, so I'm taller. We have to know that. We're talking midgets, but we're standing on the shoulder of giants, so we have the schut avot that are with us, right? We have to appreciate that. Now, The Parsha goes on and tells us about Datan the Aviram. The Datan the Aviram, how they slander and they mock Eretz Yisrael. They slander and they mock Eretz Yisrael. They make fun of Israel. They put Israel down. So the Yichal Moshe Ma'od. Moshe became very angry. When they put Moshe down, it doesn't say he became angry, because he had no ego. When they mock and slander Eretz Yisrael, Vayichal Moshe Ma'od, says Rashi, Nitztaer ad Ma'od. Then he became what? Very angry and upset. He had no ego. But when they slander Pisgat Zev, Nachlot, how dare you slander Eretz Yisrael? That Moshe could not tolerate. And again, Rav Soloveitchik says, why do we need to know the ugly statements that Datan Aviram said, that they slandered Israel? So they said it. Why is it recorded forever? Torah is not a history book. Torah is GPS. Says Rav Soloveitchik 60 years ago, maybe at Ruach HaKodesh, that the Datan Aviram syndrome is a Jewish psychosis. This self-hatred against Israel is a Jewish psychosis, he called it, that is present in every generation. It wasn't just the Datan Aviram syndrome, is very much alive, he said. He said this 60 years ago. And who's our Datan Aviram? J Street. J Street. No?
Yes, breaking
Breaking the silence. When you slander Eretz Yisrael, you are guilty of Datan Aviram or the Meraglim. And that's a Jewish psychosis, says Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal. We have to know that it exists. We have to know to reject it and not to become depressed. The Geula will come despite the modern day Datan Avirams. It didn't prevent the Geula then. We went to Israel despite the Datan Aviram. We got to Israel. And it won't prevent the final Geula from coming now. But we have to be aware that they have this self-hatred. Does any nation have this? Does any other nation have breaking the silence? Do the PLO have breaking the silence? Is there a peace now in the PLO?
We have a Knesset where she gets up and calls her own soldiers murderers.
Yeah, the Palestinians have a peace now.
But the EU is showing their own self-hatred by allowing enemies into their country.
Abu Mamzer get up and he gave a blood libel that the Jews are poisoning their wells, and the EU got up and they applauded him. Because their ancestors spread that lie. In the Middle East, Europe, they accused the Jews of poisoning the well. And that caused pogroms and massacres. And Abu Mamzer is literally poisoning the minds of his people. We're not poisoning their wells, but they are being poisoned, their minds, with Jew hatred. And that's our peace partner, Abu Mamzer. Abi.
The right thing. Stop giving them water.
Stop giving them water. Halavai. Halavai, you should stop giving them water, right? It's an amazing Rashi here. I'm telling you, it scares me that the Parsha of the week always speaks to what? And not just publicly, but privately. Rashi is so profound. You know, the most profound of all the Rishonim is Rashi. We learn Rashi when we're kids. It's a mistake. Of all the Rishonim, Lillian, the most profound, says the Chofetz Chaim. The deepest secrets in the Torah, says the Chofetz Chaim, is contained where? Where? In Rashi. Chofetz Chaim. Rashi says, Moshe pleads with, you see, with Korach he couldn't do it. He pleads with the other co-conspirators. Let's talk it over. They refuse. They refuse to speak to him. Says Rashi, Mikan she'ein machzikin b'machlokes. Rashi says, from here you learn out that you don't persist in machlokes. Moshe begged them, let's talk it over. Moshe begged them, and they refused. But Rashi should have said, you don't take part in the machlokes. Does Rashi say that? No, Nechama. He throws in an extra word. Now, every word of Rashi is Holy of Holies. He doesn't say you don't take part in the machlokes, because that's just impossible. Human beings are different strokes to different folk. There'll be machlokes. It has to be. But Rashi says, ein machzikin b'machlokes. Let go. Everybody has machlokes because it's only natural. But ein machzikin. Rashi says you don't persist in machlokes. You have machlokes. Why do you keep, what's the word, perpetuating it? Let go. Moshe said, okay, machlokes. I'm willing to let go. Why don't you want to let go? Rashi doesn't say don't take part in machlokes. Why doesn't he say that? It's just impossible. We're not robots. We all have feelings and egos. Everybody has machlokes one time in life. But ein machzikin b'machlokes. You got to know when to let go. What a powerful Rashi. One extra word. Ruvain, I'm glad I came today. One extra word. Don't persist. Let go. They couldn't. They couldn't let go until it destroyed them. It destroyed them. They went down.
Today they can't.
Today, can't let go. They're caught in the trap. Remember that song by Elvis? Caught in the trap. I'm dating myself. Got to get out of the trap. Let go. We say, no, it's the principle of the thing. My Rebbe Rapam said, principle schminciple. No, it's the principle. It ain't the principle. It's your ego. Don't blame it on the principle. It's the principle.
Ego and principle, yes.
What a parsha. What a parsha, Korach. To learn from their mistakes. Don't persist. You have to know when to let go. Thank you very much. Sunday at 2 p.m. Sunday at 2 p.m. The red cow, not the mad cow. Sunday at 2 about the red cow, but not the mad cow. Thank you very much.